Hey everyone, we got Doma Samurai Cyan yesterday. I didn't pull for him because I do not like super limit burst units at all. And in this review we will not only check out Samurai Cyan, but also I will explain why I think that super limit burst units are inherently flawed and thus super bad in fact. So let's dive right in. And yeah, the overview rather short. He's a super limit burst finisher. He has the most boring sprite in the game. I call him a discount King Bradley for apparent reasons. He has, I mean, it's literally the same sprite, just that he is looking sideways instead of front facing us. Could be literally the same sprite as King Bradley. And I found King Bradley being a super boring sprite already. But yeah, next thing is, due to the fact that he only has one form, he also has very little abilities, which, I mean, if we are already proning abilities from Neo Vision units that have a base form and a Brave Shift, why don't we have good kits on super limit burst units? I mean, it's literally still a Pokemon, right? You do have a few abilities, one of them does literally nothing, and the other ones, they, well, do something, but it's still not really that cool, right? Like, take Sora, for example. Sora Sky, that is the ability over here, which, I mean, yeah, it's cool. It's grants counter attack with one normal attack, yada, yada, yada. You're not gonna use this. I mean, yeah, I mean, you are going to use this once to power up his skills, but it's still mad. I still wouldn't want to use this. I mean, yeah, it's cool and all, but no. But no, that is the only answer here. 80% break, has no passive, or he does have a passive, but it's just no, honestly, really. The passives on his side, they are decent. And that is the one upside that I will give the super limit burst units, is that they do have a lot of killers, right? Usually regular Brave Shift or Neo Vision units, they only have two killer types. For example, Human and Reaper for Sephiroth, or Beast Machina for, I believe, Tifa. And that's fine, but super limit burst units, because they don't have a Brave Shift, they needed something on top, and that on top is they have extra killers. Samurai Cyan has Dragon Killer 100, 150 Avian Killer, Physical Magical, although the Magical doesn't matter. And he also has 200% against stones, which is cool. He also has 12 autofill innately, which is cool if he's wearing his TMR or STMR. And he also has a lot of passive attack. He has 200 passive attack here. He also gains, no, that's pretty much all of it, but he's rather easy to cap on attack. All you need pretty much is just Master of Fate from Cloud's STMR, and you'll be good to go, right? So gearing super limit burst units for damage is not hard at all. The issue with super limit burst units is that you cannot have two sets of gears that do different things. Like, imagine a scenario where the current Behemoth K fight was a physical fight. Yeah, it's a magic fight currently, but just food for thought, right? Imagine Behemoth K being a physical fight. Would you bring Cyan to this fight? Certainly not. You cannot, for no reason, you simply cannot gear him towards full evasion and maximum DPS with double killers and limit burst damage. Straight up not working out at all. You can't do that. And that is one of the inherent bad design features, quote unquote, of super limit burst units. If you need units that have two sets of gears, super limit bursts are already and will always be on the bench. Fact. While their super limit burst is actually a cool concept, which I will give them, the takeaway that they don't have a Brave Shift, that is the worst part about it, from my point of view. But I know people are conflicted about this. Some people like that you don't have to gear two forms anymore. I think it's a downgrade. Well, it is what it is. So the limit burst, regular limit burst of Cyan is 130 Earth Imperil, 25% physical magical Earth Amp, 150 LB damage increase, and a 150 all enemy attack with 4 hits. So that one is really bad, you do not want to use this. The super limit burst, on the other hand, is rather good. Sadly, the Earth Imperil still does not upgrade, so Cacteria is still our, well, actually only viable choice for 135 Imperils. I know that Solina has 135, but come on, who uses Solina these days? And his super limit burst also does 35% physical magical Earth Amp, increases Dragon and Stone Killers by 100, only to himself though, on 1 turn only. And he also gains an upgraded attack, which is 300x modifier Earth Physical, which is then also obviously modified by attack or his weapon variants, but we'll get to that. And the good thing about this is it's a single hit. And the cost is rather cheap, but don't get confused by the cost. You could also completely eliminate the cost, because one of the upsides of super limit burst units is that they fill the LB immediately once they activate their super limit burst. And the other cool thing is that they get the auto buffs immediately. So when they are ready to super limit burst, they also buff themselves with attack, etc. So they all have the cool things that you wanted to have in that super limit burst. So that's one of the cool things about the concept of super limit burst. And I would much appreciate it if they somehow incorporated the feature of super limit burst into actual Neo Vision units, because from my point of view, a super limit burst unit is just a glorified 7-star unit. That's what I think. Other than that, yeah, the super limit burst is dependent on your EX level. So when you unlock the super limit burst at EX +1, you have to wait until turn 5 to fire off or get the availability ready of the super limit burst. With each EX level, so for EX +2, you reduce the cooldown of the super limit burst by 1 turn. Meaning on EX +2, your super limit burst will be ready on turn 4. At EX +3, you can limit burst on turn 3. And you will see a lot of the upcoming challenges that for the Master of Crowns, that they will be tailored around these super limit burst unit. The Vali Garmanda fight already has that 3-turn limit. Well, coincidentally, that super limit burst at EX +3 also unlocks on turn 3, right? Which is a good hint that they are balancing these things around unit such as a Cyan. But it's still doable without, and yeah, people are going to be mad that EX levels matter even more nowadays, but with Clash of Wills, I think we are all accustomed to the fact that EX levels, especially EX +1, they don't do you any favors anymore. You have to have units at EX +2 bare minimum to make them stand out and do their job properly. And sadly, since the arrival of Final Fantasy VII Remake units, Tifa and Sephiroth, even EX +2 doesn't cut it most of the time, and you do really want that EX +3, which is very, very costly in most cases. But enough ranting. The super limit burst as it is on its own is rather cool. I like it. Science is very good too. 300x, it is good. Just 50x behind Sephiroth, and that's about it. It's what I like is that it has the Earth Imperil on it, which Sephiroth is badly missing, but on the other hand, he does not have any Katana Imperil, which Sephiroth on the other hand has again, so give and take, I guess. But yeah, let's check out his Trustmaster and Super Trustmaster. So, the Trustmaster is super weird, and I don't like it at all. Now, the 50 attack, don't mind me, they are okay, but what really irks me is the 40% physical magical avian and demon killer. Like, who is going to use a 40% killer materia? Why is this 40? Were Alem drunk or anything? I mean, what's the point? No unit in the game has 60% of anything or killers or anything divisible by 40. 300 is not divisible by 40 in full numbers. Oh, let me just actually check before I... No, it's 7.5 divided. So who thought of this? What's the reasoning? It's dumb. It's just actually stupid. I mean, yeah, it's actually an avian killer materia, but it's still useless because it's not 50. So I think it's bad. Super bad. Would not ever use it. Well, maybe for avians, but still not good. The katana, his super Trustmaster on the other end, that one is rather actually good, right? Especially for Final Fantasy VI units. So every unit in the game can wear this katana, if the unit can wear katanas, that is. At 215 attack, 1.05 to 1.55x two-handed variants. And Final Fantasy VI units also gain 20% physical evasion, which is cool. In a hypothetical example earlier, and 75% LB damage. Like it, good LB value, much obliged, much needed, and it's great. It's a great katana, very high attack, and awesome passives for Final Fantasy VI units. But you're mainly going to use this on Cyan himself, because, well, Final Fantasy VI units, right? So let's check out the vision card. Well, it's the same as Celeste's vision card, so I was thinking about skipping this, so let me just make this clear. It is actually still very, very solid on Cyan, and the reason is the static attack that he also gains. I calculated Cyan with Sephiroth's vision card and this vision card, and Celeste's vision card actually comes out on top, but just by a very, very tiny margin. So if you don't have it, don't sweat it. I mean, you're gonna have this card regardless. But if you think, or if you want to use Sephiroth's card, yeah, it is cool and all, but this one just barely edges out Sephiroth's card. For Cyan, that is. So, good card in general. I still like it a lot. So, nothing to complain about here. And now let's get to the meaty side of things, the damage calculation. So all in all, the same as always, right? I added the Earth Amp from himself, 35%. We're also using the Earth, what is it called? Imperil, but we are not using his own 130 Imperil, but instead Cacteria's 135 Imperil, because if you're using Cyan, you sure do want to use Cacteria, because they do have good synergy, and Cacteria is an awesome unit regardless for Imperils, especially if you're using Earth and or Water. She's just perfect for these teams. So yeah, nothing else really that stands out. If you have watched, especially if you watched previous videos of mine where I explained this, all of this, just read this through, pause the video, and it explains everything you need to know. This is the gear I picked out for Cyan. The weapon you're seeing here is his actual Super Trustmaster, and as you can see, he has casually 300 LB damage. We are buffing attack by 400%, so he almost reaches the values of Sephiroth, which is already a very good hint that he is going to hit hard. Another cool thing is that you can use GF extension, because he has many free slots, and if you were to go for dual race, he's good. You have that free slot, he's easily able to cap multiple races, and you're not gonna have trouble with that. Keep in mind though, I am using the Flash of Will's crown here for the chain cap increase. If you don't have a Magister Celestite Crown of Will, we don't have that yet, but we're going to have this next week. At least those of you who ranked one at least once. Everyone else is going to have it at in 2 weeks time, I guess. Oh, next week? I don't know. Soon. Definitely soon. But yeah, it's good gear, and he's very flexible in gearing. That is one of the other upsides, that these super limit burst units, they are usually, that also applies to Kurosama, who we are supposedly getting later this month. He's also super flexible on gearing, and he also should have 3 slots in materials that you can choose freely from. Alright, and I also updated some of these builds, so all in all, rather standard, nothing too surprising here. It's just updated for the latest gearing. So yeah, I didn't bother doing this for Tifa though. still the same. Here are the builds for the magic DPS that we're looking at, and I also included Yigni from last week. Same thing all around. And this is the result. And Cyan is sitting on number 3. He's third in the DPS meter, which is showing us that if it weren't for the super overpowered Final Fantasy VII Remake units, he'd be by far our top DPS in the game right now. But as it stands, Tifa and Sephiroth still eclipse him. But I think it's still a very solid spot to be in. Suffers from low, and really you have to compare the LB mode to Sephiroth and Tifa, who have 350, which is more than 10% increase over Cyan, and Cyan is already on their levels, supposedly, or so to speak. With all these things considered, he is very solid. And if you missed out on Sephiroth or Tifa, Cyan should be your go-to guy, because all the units that follow from here on out, they're not as good. We are getting crown upgrades for units such as Madame Adele, Neo Vision Madame Adele, and she will do crazy amounts of damage, but is it really worth it for that one fight where you need her? I mean, yeah, she is flex element, but the units that we're getting after the crown upgrade for Madame Adele, they are much stronger than Adele and Cyan for that matter. So it is not worth it upgrading Adele. So yeah, Cyan still in a good spot for at least a month or two, I would say. And yeah, if you pulled for him, congrats, you found yourself a very, very capable unit. And if you didn't and skipped him because you have Sephiroth or Tifa, you don't miss out. I don't miss out. I don't feel bad about skipping him either. He's a good off banner to get, though. Don't get me wrong, and I'll be happy to get him as an off banner sometime. So yeah, how does he fare in the meta? Clash of Wills, much in the vein of Sephiroth, the Earth lock to his limit burst is going to be devastating. I couldn't use Sephiroth last Clash of Wills, or Tifa for that matter, because yeah, they're you have to imbue many elements to make this work, and it's just too much to work around with. So unless the Clash of Wills boss is weak to Earth, Cyan probably won't see any use. In Dark Visions, on the other hand, where bosses don't have these crazy stats anymore, he is still a very good option, even though he's locked to Earth. I mean, hopefully you've seen me defeat Saul with Sephiroth capped damage on his own, even though he is locked to Dark, and Cyan can do the same pretty much, even though he's locked to Earth. But yeah, I do want to reiterate once more that due to not having a Brave Shift, he's hardly usable when needing 2 sets of gears, for example, Resistance and Mirage gear and actual DPS. So that is one of the huge downsides, and this doesn't allow for actually clever strats due to the missing Brave Shift. But on the flip side, he does have great passives to offset that missing Brave Shift. So should you pull, like I mentioned, if you missed out on Tifa or Sephiroth, you're getting a very, very good discount option with Earthlock instead of Dark or Water locks respectively. The LB mod is a little bit lower, but it doesn't really hinder his placement in the meta currently. But keep in mind, the best SLB you can have is at EX plus 3 with that turn 3 availability. And if you have to burst on turn 3, well, it's going to be costly, right? But if you own Sephiroth or Tifa, you can just skip Cyan. I can't English today. And other than that one Dark Vision stage, I believe next month or the month after that, where you want nerf element user, you're probably never gonna use him anyway. So yeah. And I do want to mention that I feel like Super Limit Burst units are only half of what they're supposed to be for the same price of an actual Neo Vision unit, and I am not going to ever support such a lazy unit kit design, ever. Unless the Super Limit Burst unit is so crazy powerful that it does like 50% more damage than Sephiroth, I will never pull for a Super Limit Burst unit. And I will die on this hill willingly. I will not pull for Oran because Oran is also a super limit burst unit, for example, so I am gonna die on that hill. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great Friday, evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're from. I was at such a day already in my mind. Time flies by. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll be doing more Dark Visions tomorrow. See you then. Bye bye.